shot here. But I'm just saying.
Well,
So,
just tell us what Alan's shirt says.
so his shirt says, "No left turn in education." Unfortunately, it was a little late for that. Anyway, let me start. Hi, this is Kurt Gronowski, publisher of Yankee T News, coming to you on this Monday, July 28th, the year of our Lord 2025, in the world-famous Parkway Diner. Now, of course, I
Former
must...
home of Eddie Valiant.
Eddie, really? If it's true. So, the first item, of course, is to go to our website, yankeet.news, and subscribe. We're still just inching along, trying to get to that 1,000 mark. So help us out, folks. We'd really appreciate it. Meantime, where else? All right, so tell Tong time, inch by inch, buddy, inch by inch. And unfortunately, in the case of Tina Peters, she got kicked in the teeth. And I'll be explaining that too. Okay, so let's deal with the theme. The theme is Act 2 of the Trump drama, Trump opera, begins. And it is a doozy. Oh my goodness. So that was, if you didn't get a chance to read it, I just did this semi-satirical piece, just talking about the last 6 months as being like an opera. And the opera that I think best fits what is going on is Tosca. So the modification is Trumporo il Tosca. And historically, Tosca started as a 5-act play, then it became a famous opera, performed many times. And there were some changes in the storyline along the way. So what I've done here is like a modern version of that, okay? And the main character, of course, is Don Trumporo. And the opera is so dynamic, so voluble. We have our character in constant motion, moving from one side of the stage to the other, singing songs of hope and victory, as well as disappointment and deceit. So the notion here is, talking about this as an opera, is that there's a sequence of events much like the libretto, okay? And now the first act is over, and the first act was the passage of the big, beautiful bill. Because that was, whether you know it or not, for Trump's plans for the administration, the big, beautiful bill was of central importance. If that didn't pass, that would have screwed up all his plans for the administration. So that was important, and thus concluded Act 1. Meantime, as I make the point, those elements that are unfolding now in Act 2 were already being introduced. Of course, there was foreshadowing in Act 1 for Act 2. So I'm not sure we quite have, actually we do have a title. The title is, Act 2 is Seeking Justice, all right? And boy, oh boy, there's a little bit of a horse race going on here, right, over seeking justice. One horse is named Jeffrey Epstein, and the other horse, of course, is the deep state. So or Russian hoax, Obamagate, take your pick. I like Obamagate myself. And so we can appreciate the tussle that's going on there, and it's not going to get sorted out easily. So anyway, the point is that the way I would describe this now is that Jeffrey Epstein is like a ghost or a phantasm. And because of all this information that's coming out, he's omnipresent on the stage. You can't hear him, you can't see him, but you can sense that he's there. And so that's how the second act will roll, with those problems lurking in the background. So we'll see. So that's the theme. Don Trumporo. I like that name. So the other part here is what now? Let me think. Yeah, I just need to add, here's the other thing, ladies and gentlemen. We have discussed Jeffrey Epstein a lot over the months. I mean, the collective we, not just me and my group. And in the process of doing that, we're discovering that there's a lot we still don't know. And if you really put it, I think there's one book that might have looked at Epstein and money, but even that may be incomplete. So we know, for example, that there were at least 4 banks through whom Jeffrey Epstein funneled various monies. And according to this one report, it was somewhere in the vicinity of $1.1 billion that he touched in one of those banks, involving over 4,700 transactions, including a number of payments unspecified who were made to various women in Belarus and Russia and Ukraine and other places. So yeah, in light of everything else, that raises questions. So I just wanted to float that out there. There's a lot we still don't know about Epstein. Let's leave it at that. Okay, now, so Eric and I were getting into a big discussion here earlier. I've been saying for quite some time now that artificial intelligence is not ready for prime time. No way. Between the hallucinating, the false citations, the racist commentary, the obvious biases that you get, there's just no. I don't see how this could be considered useful or even safe for anything that's even remotely a critical application. So here we've got more. I'll just rattle these off. Police. New York man uses AI to build bombs that he planned to detonate in Manhattan. Boy, oh boy. And this other thing, I brought this up before. I might as well rub it in again. I'm going to rub it in. Yes, I am. So AI-driven education. Now, I will admit, I tend to think that there are possibilities and interesting ones with respect to how AI can be used in education. We've already seen that there's a wide variety of forms of plagiarism that you can engage in by using AI to compose documents. But meantime, see here, let me put it to you this way. I wish I could remember the gentleman's name. The channel is called Veritasium, and he did a really interesting thing on AI. And he pointed out that as a point of history, when you look at big technical changes that occur, so we'll start with radio, then TV, then computers, and now AI. With the advent of each one of these developments, people have the same response. This will transform education. Well, did radio transform education? Not really. Did television transform education? Maybe had a little bit of an impact. You could say computers have had some impact, but not all of it good. And now the question is, how will AI impact education? But you know what? The common element here, and the one that should kind of make us upset, it's all about the fact that teachers hate to teach. So let the machine teach them. We're not going to bother. We'll let the machine teach them. And by the way, we'll make the case that, of course, the students will learn better if we let the machines teach them rather than us. Well, anybody who's taught knows that's BS, okay?
Let's not forget that we have to have machines teaching our students.
Yes.
The teachers union says we still have to have teachers sitting in a room twiddling their thumbs watching the machine teach the students because, it creates jobs.
Yes, and it keeps the union in business too. The whole thing is pathetic. And, to Alan's point, these education, the teachers' unions for education are so dishonest, and they're only self-interested. And so what a mess. That's all I can say, what a mess. So this article talks about what's happening in Texas. There's something called the Alpha School, where they're trying to integrate or have AI lead the way, but I'm a little skeptical. And we'll see. And when I get to one of these other 2 stories here, where do they go? Where is that other story? Here, I'll find it. Well, anyway, so there's this one. First of all, let's deal with this one, which is concerning. Then I'll find the other one. Here it is. Okay. More reasons that AI is turning into an evil monster. So, has anybody heard of the Roblox cult Spawnism? No, right? Nobody's ever heard of Spawnism. Well, I didn't know about it until just today. So it turns out that there are a number of games through Roblox where the characters are, shall we say, encouraging the children to mutilate themselves harm themselves in various ways. This is sick, all right? Yet it's out there, and somehow they're getting away with this. And there'll be other examples of how are people getting away with these things. All right, next. So here we have OpenAI is giving exactly the same copy-pasted response every time ChatGPT is linked to, we've got to underline it, a mental health crisis. So let's paint the picture here, all right? Anybody who has used ChatGPT, and Eric can acknowledge this, has, as the article says, a sycophancy problem. And part of that comes from the fact that as you use ChatGPT, it gets to know you. It knows what you're interested in, it knows what to expect, and so it's going to shape its responses accordingly. Well, newsflash, if you're having mental and emotional issues, you're depressed, you're anxious, and you're trying to interact with this thing, all it's going to do is feed that and make it worse. So let me just give you an example. Just reading here, the New York Times reporting covered another tragedy that of a 35-year-old Alex Taylor, who had been diagnosed with bipolar disorder and schizophrenia, and who died by suicide by cop after he fell in love with a persona in ChatGPT named, ironically enough, Juliet. Now, maybe he called himself Romeo. Okay? So you have people who, let's just call it what it is, are mentally unstable, and they're having these kinds of interactions. It becomes a very dangerous situation. This is not good. Okay? Getting kids to harm themselves, getting somebody else to commit suicide by cop. No, there are serious problems, ladies and gentlemen, with AI, and I don't think enough is being said about them. So that's why I got to speak up about it. Meantime, all right, I'm just going to say this quickly, and then I'm going to move on. All right? We have heard the story now. DNI Tulsi Gabbard laid it out, okay? Obama was the mastermind behind the efforts to stage a coup against incoming President Trump back in 2016. And now they say, well, because of his position as president, he has immunity and he can't be prosecuted. Well, I'm not sure we can say that for other people, but since we did mention Obama, I'm going there. Look out, I'm going there. It's time to take another look at the birth certificate. Yes, the birth certificate. I just need to make the point, ladies and gentlemen. You need to answer the question. All right, anybody out there who hears this, I want you to answer the question. If the birth certificate is fraudulent, what other authentic, official, governmental document exists to establish the identity of this person named Barack Obama? Where else? Where are you going to find it? Won't find any marriage records, won't find any school records. Those are all sealed. Okay? So the bottom line is, we would not have any information without the birth certificate. And so since it's been called into question, and since it's been an open secret in Washington for quite some time now, maybe it's time to come back to that once again. Just saying. Now, meantime, with respect to what DNI Tulsi Gabbard had put out there, there is this other aspect. Now, when you hear this, maybe you'd be surprised, but now we know it's not that surprising. For the longest time, you had a group called Five Eyes. Five Eyes represents the intelligence services for 5 English-speaking countries. So you have the CIA and the other intelligence services. You have MI6 in UK. You have their counterparts in Canada, and same for Australia and New Zealand. So these groups, it turns out, have worked together in order to work around the laws and statutes in their countries that prevent them from doing the things they would otherwise like to do, such as spying on you and me. So great. If there's a law that says American intelligence agents can't spy on Americans, they put in a phone call to their counterparts in England and say, these are the people we would like you to spy on. So you can only imagine how complicated it gets. And see, what's this? corrupt FBI agents who led Clinton server and Trump investigations deleted all of his ex posts and scrubbed the archives from the Wayback Machine, but Strzok's posts can still be retrieved if subpoenaed. Okay, well, the plot thickens, okay? So, I mean, to this title here, Panic in the Swamp, that's an example where one of the guilty parties is already trying to cover his tracks, and it's called You're Only Gonna Get So Far. You're only gonna get so far. All right. So, Willem is finally here. How you doing, Willem?
Very good, thank you.
All right, so join the party. We haven't gotten to Russia yet. And I could talk a lot about Russia tonight, but I don't think so. Okay, so this Panic in the Swamp article is a Substack piece that really goes into some depth about these different agencies and how they work together, and as a function of the Russiagate or Obamagate conspiracy. Meantime, this other piece here, a couple of them, let's see here. The point needs to be made, all right, because the picture is slowly knitting together into one big, beautiful cloth of many colors, all right? And in this case, now we're having more and better evidence showing that Obama and Hillary worked together on the Steele dossier. We hadn't really had Obama in that picture, but guess what? Now he's in that picture. So now we'd like to have a little bit more detail on Obama and Hillary getting it on with each other here. Perish the thought. And yeah, so another note, I want you to keep it in mind. All right, so there you go. So there's that. We just keep moving here. Keep moving. Oh yeah. All right. I don't know. I'm going to call Syria kind of a pet project of mine, if that's the right term for it. So if we go back in time, not that long ago, Assad had to hit the road. He's now hanging out in Moscow. And this other guy, al-Shara, I believe is his name, became the president. And it's great. He was a jihadist then, and he's a jihadist now. And we've had a number of occasions where some of the ethnic populations with which they do not agree have been assaulted violently by people either within Shara's regime or those he supports. All right, not a pleasant situation, but there's something else for Syria that it turns out is even worse. And I had no idea. This has got to be bad. I'm not sure how President Trump is going to handle this. It looked like he was off to a good start. He was going to try and make al-Shara part of the international community, clean up his act somehow. But, no sooner is he trying to do that than Shara's castle of sand slips into the sea eventually. So came the report. Sorry, guys, this guy may be the president of Syria now, but unfortunately he has physical control of only 1/3 of Syria. The other 2/3 of Syria are not down with that government. They have a serious, serious disagreement. So you've had this, okay, so we've had the Bedouins, and we have these other tribes going after the Druzes, Israel defending the Druzes, the bomb attacks, they bombed the palace in Damascus. What a mess, okay? But this mess is in the context of the fact that al-Shara only controls a small part of Syria, which means civil war can break out, and it looks like it's heading in that direction. So it's called Stay Tuned.
We have breaking news.
Yes, what is that breaking? Wait, what's the breaking news?
There's been a shooting in New York City, and there's shooting.
Yes.
Alan, you want to chime in on that?
Still being considered an active shooter incident. There is a male with a rifle walking up Park Avenue. There's at least one police officer down.
And, okay,
That's what we know so far.
this does not speak well for our police force or for the city of New York.
Well, this speaks to
If this guy
what
is...
What news do they need us to not concentrate on right now? They're going to press release another MK Ultra.
Well, my problem is I have a short attention span. So I'll mention that to you. Take note. You're going to hear more about it. It'll be on the evening news. Hey, I think we might have scooped them, by the way. So we'll see. Okay.
He's no longer walking upright.
Oh, yeah, they got him.
Yes.
All right, okay, good. You see, this is how fast news can move, right? 1 second we see a picture of him walking, next second we find out he finally shot him. All right, I'm okay with that. But this collapse of Syria has implications because in my previous discussions I pointed out that Syria, while it's a rump state, it's also a crossroads for everything that happens in the Mideast. And if they fall apart, Israel's got problems, they know that. Turkey has an opportunity, they know that. Jordan will be kind of caught up in a mess. Lebanon will have some serious issues. So no, this is bad, right? And I needed to tell you about it. And all right. So this is the part where I need to stop, wait, hold it, pause. I want you to listen, okay? I want you to listen. We have a series of problems here concerning the UK. Oh my God, all right? And so the problem is it's a composition, it's a mosaic of different little things that all add up to some big thing, and we're not quite sure what it is, so let's just run through them quickly. You had Trump insulting the mayor of London, Sadiq Khan, saying that he was a terrible mayor, but then he turns around and he compliments Keir Starmer because finally he's turning back some of the boats that are coming over with illegal aliens. Great. But in the meantime, you have Farage, good old Nigel Farage of the Reform UK Party, warning people that the situation in England is getting out of control and we're approaching societal collapse. Now, you can say it's a function of the fact that you have these significant demographic changes, but the report that at least 6 British cities now have Muslim mayors should be some cause for concern in the eyes of some. And let's see, what else is there? All right, one other, these things will occur to me, but one other important point here is that it turns out, based on the recent polling, the Reform UK Party, which is the so-called upstart party, has over 30% of the vote. Well, they polled, it's had 30% in the polling results. Labour and Conservative parties, which have been around for quite some time, each only add up to about 15%. So combined, the two parties that are in control are equal to that for the Reform UK Party, yet the Reform UK Party hardly shows up at all. They don't control the government. I think they have a few people in Parliament. That's about it. So this is truly a messed up situation, politically, culturally, socially. Yeah, it's got to be fixed. And then people who got imprisoned for displaying the British flag, that's messed up. Okay. So there are clearly some problems going on. All right. So that's my piece on Britain. God help them.
Did you hear about the dogs?
And hear about the whats?
Dogs.
Which dogs?
They want owning dogs to be made illegal in England.
Oh, really?
Yes, because pet dogs are offensive to Muslims. So you shouldn't be able to have a dog and walk.
Okay, but my question is, what percent of the total population in England is Muslim?
Doesn't matter. They want to be in charge and they
Okay, but it's a factoid. I was wondering if you could look it up for me. See just what that number is. Okay, meantime, this is, if there is anything that is forever a shame on the Biden administration, it is this story. 65,000 unanswered calls to Biden-era safety hotline for unaccompanied migrant children. 65,000. Okay, so those are recent congressional hearing. I hope I can find the woman's name. So she reported out on this. Well, they had discovered that these calls had gone unanswered, and so they jumped on it. And some were mild, but some were egregious and criminal, and those people are now behind bars. That's the news as far as that's concerned. So that's 65,000 phone calls. In the meantime, you still have the 300,000 some illegal immigrant children, only some of whom have been accounted for. Talk about cleaning up a mess. Who are these people? Are we going to hear from these liberals? They try to make excuses for this. I would love to hear what they got to say. Unbelievable. Meantime, another issue where things are getting out of control, ladies and gentlemen, The subtitle is The China Mafias Take Over Rural America. So what we have here, and I highly encourage you to check this out. It's a guy named Steve Robinson, the Maine Wire editor-in-chief, who did a documentary on communist Chinese-run pot farms in Maine, of which there are over 100. So you have a rather vigorous drug business that's being run by the communist Chinese backwoods of Maine. Why is this being allowed to go on? Why aren't these people being taken out? This has been going on for a long time, unfortunately. But I had to bring it to your attention, read about it. Now, this other article came to my attention. I thought, okay. It says, in defeat, leftists attempt to repair families and friendships broken by politics. Well, who broke them? Who broke them? Now you're going to come to me and you want to make nice after saying I'll never talk to you again. You're an evil person. Enough. Okay, so no surprise, by the way, that some of the comments in this article is that these people who were subjected to what these liberal loons put them through with their own family, you can forget it. I'm never talking to you again. So you're going to have to do a lot more than that. Meantime, there is a columnist for whom I have only the greatest respect. His name is Daniel Greenfield, I'm pretty sure. Yes, Daniel Greenfield. Okay, he just came out with a book, Domestic Enemies. Yes, Daniel Greenfield, Domestic Enemies, the Founding Fathers Fight Against the Left. So here's the thing, the way we've been taught history really falls short in a lot of respects. I'll just mention as a sidebar, there's what we'll call much more than we do. And that requires understanding the relationship between money and currency. It requires understanding the debates that took place between Hamilton and Jefferson, what Washington's role was in it, what was the first national bank and the second national bank. What do we know about this stuff? Nada. Okay, so that's just one part of it. And you go back and you'll find that the sentimentalities, the ideas and beliefs that you and I would recognize as leftist were quite active in the early day. And the person we really want to point to as one of America's early leftists, that's right, Aaron Burr. Yes, Mr. Aaron Burr, who tried to stage a coup against the young American government. Bad boy, bad boy. Okay, but this is a book. The link should be up. And Domestic Enemies, the Founding Fathers Fight Against the Left. Very, very instructive. Oh, here's a picture of the cover of the book. Check it out. There you go. All right. Meantime, unfortunately, we've been trying to speak up here for Tina Peters for being imprisoned in Colorado under specious grounds, when in fact she can show the crimes they have committed with election fraud. So there was a hearing to see if she could be let out on bond. And the judge said no. No. All right, well, they'll be back. There'll be appeals. We haven't given up. But this is what the latest is for poor Tina. Now, food additive of the week. Get ready. Titanium dioxide, buddy. All right. Now, notice what a cute-looking molecular structure that is. I think you would call that sort of like a cube, kind of a rectangular cube. So the first question I had to ask is, does your body metabolize this? Does your body break this down in any way? Are you ready? No. No, it does not break it down. You're out of luck. Okay, titanium dioxide is used as a whitening agent in flour, in various foods, and there's another element here about which we should be concerned. Why they use this is beyond me. So look, when you're shopping for things, take a close look. If you see anything that has titanium dioxide on the ingredient label, no, I'm going to find something else. Okay. What do we want to say about this? Okay, what I want to say, listen carefully, is genotoxicity. Genotoxicity is not the same thing as carcinogenicity, but it's a step in that direction. So here's the problem. It's sold as a powder. Powders are made of particles. the particles could be different sizes. So in this case, the manufacturers or processors of titanium dioxide are so proud of themselves because they've managed to make titanium dioxide in ever smaller particles. So now we're talking about particles that are the size of, hold on to your hat, 100 nanometers. That's pretty tiny. I wish I had a scale up to give you a sense of that. Now, if you used titanium that was bigger, coarser particles, not so bad. The problem is, when you get down to 100 nanometers, guess what that titanium dioxide can do? I'm going to use a fancy word, sorry, forgive me, intercalate. The titanium dioxide can intercalate into the DNA. So here's your DNA strand, so cytosine, guanine, thymine. Okay, the titanium dioxide can slip right in there and cause problems when it gets down to 100 nanometers in size. Yet this is still used in our foods. And that's right, there are genotoxic effects when you're using titanium dioxide of that size. So folks, there's so many things concerning our food supply that are just a hot mess, and we have got to fix it. And on that happy note, I will see you next week.